Good afternoon and welcome to the Woman to Woman Show on this lovely first Wednesday of March here on the Woman to Woman Show. On today's show we are featuring the Amber's Women's Refuge, and with me is Lisa Morris from the Amber Women's Refuge. Lisa, welcome back to the Woman to Woman Show.
Thanks a million, Roisin. I'm delighted to be back on again today.
Oh, brilliant. Because we here on the Woman to Woman Show and Community Radio Kilkenny City will be featuring Amber Women's Refuge for the whole of the year. So you'll get to hear all the updates of the Amber Women's Refuge here on Community Radio Kilkenny City. Lisa, the Amber Women's Refuge, we were talking last week, it has been in operation for nearly 19 years, is it?
Yeah, it officially opened in 2001 after the support service in Lochboy. They would have been operating for a few years as a support service, and then the need for a refuge came about. So there was a lot of people involved in, I suppose, a bit of rallying for a refuge, and then a refuge purpose building was built in the Lacan, and it's been there ever since.
What services do you provide here at Amber Women's Refuge?
So we have a range of services available for women and children affected by domestic violence and abusive relationships. So we have the 24-hour short-term emergency refuge accommodation. We have a 24-hour helpline. We have a support and information drop-in service or by appointment. We have a childcare program for children affected by domestic violence. We have a court accompaniment service, an outreach service. We have aftercare, and we have counselling as well for women and children. So we also operate a freedom program. So if you want, I can go through each service and explain what each one is. So the refuge itself is a safe short-term emergency accommodation so we have 7 units. And they're made up of 5 individual units containing kitchen, living area, ensuite sleeping areas, and then there's 2 ensuite bedrooms as well that aren't self-contained units. So in total we have room for 7 women and up to 23 children at any one time. And when women come into the refuge, then we give them the chance to articulate the way that they feel about their experience, and we work with them as a parent and a child. We work with them together as the parent and child as a unit. So we look at them as their family and what their needs are for that family in particular. So that's the refuge. And also we have a length of stay which is up to 3 months. So it's great that we can offer women 3 months to try and, I suppose, make the plan for their future. Within that 3 months we work hard with the women and we do work with them around their own plan. But after the 3 months then we do have to try and source other accommodation for women, because at the end of the day we have to then try and accommodate other women who are in crisis. So that's the whole purpose of the 3 month length of stay, so that we can try and give women a chance but also have room then for other women who are in crisis. Then we have the outreach and court accompaniment service. So that service is provided outside of Kilkenny City in the rural locations. It's also in Kilkenny City. So if someone doesn't want to come to the refuge, or if they'd rather just meet in a location around Kilkenny, they can contact the refuge and we can arrange for our outreach worker to go and meet them somewhere.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic, because a lot of people mightn't be at that stage of crisis where they have to leave, so they might be able to just meet with our outreach worker and discuss their plan and maybe just look at their options and see, do they need refuge or can they arrange to leave safely, or there's lots of options available. So Sarah then will go through all the options available to the woman when she meets with them. But it's great that it can happen at the refuge, or it can be around different locations around Kilkenny. Sarah is able to travel. So that's a great service, and that's newly in service since April 2016. It still feels like it's new, because we're still growing and we're still learning about outreach, but it's actually nearly 4 years in operation. Then we have our 24-hour helpline, which is obviously 24 hours a day, so women can ring us at any time, any day of the year, and again that's to offer support and information to women. So it's a listening ear and maybe just some support if a woman is looking to know what her options are about leaving a violent relationship. Or some women don't want to leave yet and they're just looking for what their options are. So that's great to be able to just avail of that service if you don't want to come into the refuge. And then, as I said, we do have the support and information service as well, which is drop-in or by appointment. So if someone just wants to drop into the door and come in and meet with one of the staff members here, it's the same service as our helpline, only for you get a face-to-face visit. So it's great, because some people like to talk on the phone and some people like to talk face-to-face. Then we have our Childcare Program for children. So what that is that we have a childcare worker who's here at the Refuge, and she will work with women or with the children here, and also she can work with children who are referred to her that aren't staying in the Refuge as well. So it's great that it's not just for women, and it's not for children that are here, it's also for children that may be referred from outside in the community. So it's looking at doing some work around the domestic violence that they may have experienced. And we actually are also in the middle of setting up a TLC group. It's TLC Kids, it's called. So it's a group for mothers and for their children, and they run concurrently, where they look at the trauma that the children have experienced through domestic violence. So the mothers group would run first, and then the children's group, as I said, they run concurrently, but the mother will know what the children are doing in their group, so they're able to support them then afterwards. So it's an excellent programme, and our staff here at the moment are trying to set it up with New Park Close Family Resource Centre. So it's great that we're able to work with another service.
Yes.
You know, so we're all in partnership and we're working together. So hopefully that'll be running in March.
Oh,
yeah, so it's fantastic. Then we have the Court Accompaniment Service. So if women do want to go to court to get legal protection, we have our outreach worker Sarah again can go to court with the women just to support them through the whole process, because obviously going to court can be really daunting and some people don't have anybody to go with them. So we can offer that service where it's literally we accompany the woman to court, we stay there through the whole process, whether it could be over a few weeks that it happens, or it could be months even sometimes. So we would be able to offer that service, that Sarah would go to court and accompany the women through the court process, go to solicitors with them, maybe to Garda stations as well. So it's literally just the support and kind of the hand-holding side of things, because some people have nobody to go with them.
And that's invaluable.
It absolutely is, yeah. It's just to know that you have somebody there, because courts are so daunting. You could be there with the perpetrator sitting across from you. Like, there's no real privacy in a court. You're sitting there, there's a group of women maybe waiting to go into court, and their abusive perpetrator is sitting there, you know, maybe abusing them further in the courtroom. So this happens. So it's great that we have somebody there to distract from that and to be able to support the women through the whole process. I touched on the outreach service already, yeah. So Sarah is available for the both. She does court and outreach. Then we have the Aftercare Service. This service is when women are leaving Refuge. We're able to offer a service after Refuge. They can continue with counselling, they can continue with their childcare program for the children, they can continue to seek support from the staff at the Refuge. And again, it's kind of, you know, when a woman leaves, they've been in that crisis mode for the whole 3 months, and possibly then when they leave, you know, they might have moved into their own home again, and it's only then that they may be able to deal with the whole trauma that has happened to them. So we're there to try and support them through that as well. And that can vary. It could be through group work, through counselling, through whatever support the woman feels she might need. And again, it's optional. People don't have to avail of it, and some people find it invaluable, and other people are, I suppose, they're able to deal with things on their own and may have family support. But at least it's another service that's there for women. And then the crisis counselling service we have as well, which is free of charge. We offer it to the women who stay in the Refuge, and we offer it to women who are not clients of the Refuge, but maybe through outreach, court, or through the Freedom Program as well, our group support group. So the Freedom Program then is another initiative that Sarah, our outreach worker, would have researched a little bit about, and she went to the UK to get training on it. It's currently only running in Ireland since 2018 in Kilkenny. Now I know there's one other refuge in the country that run it as well, but it's only, you have to go to the UK for the training. But it looks in depth kind of at the abusive behaviours and tactics of a perpetrator. So each week you look at a different tactic of what a perpetrator would use, and I suppose it gives women, you know, Sarah would often tell me that they can see the women when they, you know, when you're reading out this type of behaviour, and they're like, God, that's exactly what my partner has done to me. Because a lot of women blame themselves for the behaviour, and they think, well, I must have done this to make him do that, or I must have. So this kind of really goes through in depth about all the different types of behaviours that a perpetrator can display, because some of them can be nice at times, and some of them can be very abusive. They're the easier ones probably to recognise. The more, when you're obviously physical abuse can be quite easy to recognise. But someone who's been coercively controlled and being told what to do, but in a nice way all the time, that can be very hard to detect. So this does look in depth at all those different types of behaviours, and it's done in a group. So it's our first ever time having group support, and it works so well, because women can support each other, and there's no criteria around, you have to be out of the relationship or you have to be in the relationship. You can be at any point of your journey. You can be in it still, you can have left 20 years, or you could be left a week. And it's great because women in the group are all at different stages, so they all can support each other with how far they've come as well. And it's just powerful to see group work in action through the Freedom Programme.
Women helping women.
Yeah, it really is.
Supporting women
through this. And it's to show, I suppose, someone might have been at the other side of it, and some woman might be just after leaving, or maybe still there and talking about leaving. So it just really is powerful that women can help each other at different stages and share their own experience as well. So
that's
it works.
Powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And it's always, we've had full groups since we started. I think this is her 3rd or 4th group that she started to run now, so it's great. There's a great interest in it. And then what we've done since is we actually have a recovery group after the Freedom, because women started, they kind of missed when the Freedom was over, because they loved the whole support of the group setting and the support that was given in each group. So Sarah set up a recovery group that runs in the Refuge. So that's for women who are finished the Freedom Programme and looking for more support still. So it's great that they can come along, and they, it may be looking around personal development, sharing their own experiences again, but it's more after the recovery.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's great that we have their new services as well.
And that gives us a sense of healing for women.
It does,
and
yeah.
Mental and emotionally healing.
It does, because you can hear from other people that you're not gone mad, like you might have been told, that this is actually happening to other people too. So it's good to have reassurance, and I suppose even the friendship of other women is so important too, because you might have been so isolated for so long. So it gives that whole friendship and support in a group setting. And then there's also, as I said, that social group that runs after the Freedom Programme kind of helps to, it's not that the Freedom ends it, that there's still more support, that there's no time limit on this group. It's just to pop in to have a cup of tea and a chat, and then whatever we might do, artwork in one group, it depends. The women decide themselves what they're going to do in each session. So it's great, and it runs here in the Refuge.
That is powerful.
Yeah, it really is. So a lot of people think Amber is just the Refuge,
no.
But it's not. It's so much more, and you don't have to be in crisis to use the Refuge. You can use all the other services as well. It doesn't have to be at that stage. Some people can they may be living in an abusive relationship and not want to leave, which is fine as well. We don't judge people. We don't make people make decisions around their life. It's their life, but we would just try and support them through however we can. So if it's a case that you need help for your children, or that you need to go to court, avail of the outreach, use the counselling service, they're all there as well, and the Refuge. But I think most people think of Amber as the Refuge, but it's a whole lot more.
It's a little doors within doors.
Yeah, it really is.
Different little magical box in a doll's house that you can open up and go different places.
Yeah, and as you say, you can come into Refuge, you can go into the aftercare, you can use the counselling service, you may use the court service, you may come back into Refuge again, unfortunately, but we're always there, and no matter which service you're in, it doesn't matter. You can come back as many times as needs be. So we don't hold any judgment, or there's no limit on the amount of times you can use the service. It's there whenever it's needed, because we have a lot of people that use the service over and over and over again, because it takes time for someone to actually leave. Because
an awful lot of women will try her very best to keep the family together.
Of course, yeah. They really see, I suppose, isn't that what we're all told to do, that we must keep our family together, and that you can't leave, you can't take the children from their daddy or from their home or from their school. But at the end of the day, the financial strain, it's very, very hard to leave. And we would be very upfront and honest with women when we do meet them. It's not simple to leave. It's not easy, especially if you have mortgage financial ties with your partner as well. It's extremely hard to try and break free from that, or you might have to leave your home, leave your friends behind, your family behind, and start again in something that isn't maybe as nice as the home that you've left. But then I suppose you weigh up, what kind of life is it that you want to stay in your nice house in an abusive relationship, or downsize maybe into something smaller, but to be happier and free from abuse
and peace of mind.
Yeah, but look, it's not easy, and it's definitely the hardest and bravest step is to actually leave.
It takes a lot of courage.
It really does, yeah. And not saying, like, some people don't get that courage or don't ever leave, but they may avail of supports themselves that they can manage in the relationship. Some people are living like that. We have many women that we would see that are just living in the marriage and getting through it, really. You know, it's no life, but they don't want to leave yet. And again, we would try and support women through that. We go through safety plans. They know if they ever did have to leave, what to do and where to go. But again, it's always down to the woman to be their own navigator of their own ship, I suppose, that it's up to them when they want to leave. And some do and some don't.
And too, there's a lot of misconception out there within the world and society that women who stay are weak. Women who stay are not weak, they're still strong.
Absolutely.
They're strong women.
Yeah. I think if I was in that situation myself and trying to weigh up, you know, it's actually easier. It's easier to stay, but it's not easier to live in that environment that you're still living in. But you may just put up with it for the sake of your children, or for whatever reason it is. You know, it's not easy to leave.
It takes a lot of courage
to either
stay or to go.
Either you're not a weak woman.
No.
You might be told you're weak for leaving because you've given up on your marriage.
Yes.
You know, it's either or. It's again, it's just totally personal to each person. There's no right or wrong. Everyone knows their own situation, and they know the danger in their situation as well. That's why we would never advise anybody to leave. We give people information and support them then to make their own decisions, because those decisions are their own.
Well, we're going to take a short commercial break, but do stay tuned. We are having a featured woman-to-woman show with Amber Women's Refuge. So do stay with us until after the break. You're listening to the Woman-to-Woman show with myself, Roisin Ni Chleirigh, on Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM.
Shop local and keep the jobs in our city.
We are Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM.
You're listening to the Woman-to-Woman show with myself, Roisin Ni Chleirigh, on Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM. You're very welcome back to the Woman-to-Woman show with a special featured interview with Lisa Morris from the Amber Women's Refuge. Lisa, before the break we were talking about just all the services that you run up here and provide up here, and there's service after service, and this is like a treat up here because you provide so much.
Yeah, we do. As I said, a lot of people do think that the refuge is just our accommodation, and I suppose that's what we really want to get out there, for people to know that it's not just the refuge service, that we have so much more to offer that people can avail of, that women can avail of for themselves and for their children. So as I said, it's up to the women themselves. If they wish to leave, they can come, or they can look to come to refuge. A lot of the times we are full, unfortunately, but we would always try to seek refuge in another county until we would have an available space then in our own refuge. But it's up to the women themselves if they do want to make that step. But we are always there then to support somebody in their journey. So whether it be through the counselling service or through outreach or through aftercare when they do actually leave the refuge. So there are a range of services available for women to use.
One thing that I suppose a lot of people would go through a lot of people's minds listening to this interview, what is domestic violence, and how do you define the different types of domestic violence?
Yeah, well, I suppose domestic violence, I would describe it as somebody's exerting power and control over another person. In this context, it's male perpetrating domestic abuse over a woman. And then there's a range of different types. There's financial abuse, which can be withholding money, giving a woman just enough to get the shopping in the week, maybe not giving money, for different things. Especially that can happen a lot, I suppose, to women who are staying at home mothers, when it's easier to control someone who doesn't have their own financial independence. Yes. We have physical abuse, which can range from black eyes, bruising, cuts, threats of physical abuse. We have sexual abuse, which could be rape, coercion into having sex that you don't want to, watching pornography that you may not want to, or being involved in this. Then we have so I've done physical, sexual,
financial,
emotional.
Yes.
So the emotional abuse is the whole name calling, making you feel that you're very little, that you don't mean anything, turning your family and friends against you maybe, or turning you against them, telling you things like, they don't like you, they're no good for you. And then you look at the whole area of the coercive control, which is a lot of these types of abuse and threats of it, but I suppose it's over a continuous period of time. So coercion around, telling you that you're useless, that you have the whole gaslighting concept. So I suppose it comes back from years ago where they used to have the gas lights, and the man would turn the lights up and down, and she'd be saying, "Oh God, is that you have to turn the lights off?" And he'd say no, trying to make you feel like you're going mad, moving things off the table, or if you might be looking for your car keys. We hear that a lot. And then they'd say, I thought I left my car keys on the table. And he'd say, no, you didn't, you left them over there. So then the woman starts doubting herself, thinking, am I actually going mad? Maybe everything he's saying about me is true. Maybe I am useless. So it's such a powerful way of controlling somebody. And I suppose that control only ends up stopping when the woman leaves, which is why it's the most dangerous time, because when a woman leaves, the man has lost all control. So this can be extremely dangerous for women. It can leave in a woman being murdered. It can result in many things, that being the worst. But they are the types of abuse.
How would a friend or a family member notice these little... Because nothing would be so obvious.
No.
And sometimes you could be married to a man, it could be the old saying about children, you could be the street angel and the house devil.
Yes, and I suppose that's a lot of them are probably like that. But I think if you are close to somebody, if you're somebody's sister or somebody's friend, you will notice things like, you might call over for a cup of tea and he might be always in the room, or won't leave you have your quiet time to have a chat, or may just arrive home when he knows that your friends are calling over and doesn't give you that space. Or may say things like, sure, why would you want to be going out with her? She doesn't even like you anyway. Trying to turn you off your friends. And I suppose they're kind of things that you might notice things like that, or you mightn't, because he might be pretending that he's this nice guy saying, oh, why don't you go out with your friends anymore? But really the reason is because he's after probably filling your head or their head with things that aren't true about you. And
that's part of the pattern of isolating
a
woman away from her family and her friends.
Yeah, that's it. But I suppose obviously the physical signs might be there as well, but there's also physical signs around someone becoming withdrawn. It doesn't have to be bruising and cuts or scratches or physical signs of someone being abusive, but there may be the whole physical signs of someone suffering with anxiety and stress, depression. I suppose all you can kind of do is ask if everything is okay.
And the confidence could go.
The confidence could go. They could, they might be that type of person that likes getting their hair done every week, or making them, getting their nails done and things. But then you might see something that they're not doing that anymore, or they're cancelling lunch dates with you, or not doing the normal. You kind of would start to question, well, I wonder what's going on there. And maybe that could be a sign as well. They're kind of the most obvious things, I suppose, the physical and the things I've mentioned around coercive control. But I suppose the main thing you can do is just ask, is everything okay? And if someone will trust you enough, they will confide in you. And I suppose that's the vital part then, is not to judge or not to tell somebody what to do. It can be hard when it's a family member, because I know myself, if it was my sister or my cousin or my mother, you kind of do take on that role of, you want to protect and you want to get them out of that situation, but you have to take a step back and just hear what they want, because you don't want them to cut you out then after maybe saying the wrong thing or telling them what to do. You just need to listen and try and support someone. And again, just tell them to pick up the phone, or help them to pick up the phone to ring Amber, and we can be the ones then that can support somebody through that situation.
Just be like a navigator.
Just be the navigator. Just signpost to us, and we can take over then, because it can be very hard to be a family member or a friend who you may be involved with both parties, and it can be very hard to be involved there, and it can be quite dangerous. So it would be best to try and signpost to the services that would be more professional working with women.
And sometimes the signs can happen as well before when you just start to go out with someone, and you might not notice them because they could be very subtle.
Oh yeah, they can be very, very subtle. And you might think it as, oh, he's very protective of me, or he loves me so much that he's telling me, you know, you don't need to wear that skirt, that short, you're beautiful, or you don't need to wear any makeup. And, you know, they don't have the right to tell you what to wear or what to do with your hair or to do with your makeup. But I suppose at the start you might think, oh, he's so caring that he thinks I'm so beautiful, I don't need to wear short skirts or makeup. But actually that's a form of control, because someone doesn't have the right to tell you what to wear or what way to look. So, and that can be quite common in young relationships as well, with young people, that's seen kind of as it's a nice thing, but it's actually not, it's controlling.
And even taking you to work and then collecting you from work. Yeah,
or saying, oh, who are you texting, or who are you talking to there, why were you talking to that person? It can look like he really cares and is concerned about you, but actually no, it would be an alarm bell in my head if someone was being like that. So I suppose it's just to be able, and that's the whole point of us trying to talk about the Refuge and trying to raise awareness about domestic abuse and what it is. You know, you can have an argument with your partner or your husband, but that's normal. But it's when it becomes this everyday occurrence, if it happens again, like you have an argument, whoever's in the wrong will say sorry and it doesn't happen again. But if it does continue to happen, it is considered abuse.
And many women would say that the first hit, oh, they'll not do it again, they were very sorry.
Yeah, and that can be the case where they will apologise, but it will happen again. Very, very seldom when it doesn't. And I'm saying that from listening to the women who use our service, from telling us that, because they've all been there. Those who are here from physical abuse would tell you that they would have said sorry, it'll never happen again, and they may have believed that because they wanted to believe it, but it does. Most of the time it does happen again. If someone can do that to you once, they will do it again. And
they will keep doing it, and then it's brushed under the carpet.
Yeah, and you deserved it. If you didn't, if you had done what I have said, this wouldn't have happened. So again, that's where women start blaming themselves, and they think, oh sure, look, if I had have had his dinner on time, or had the table ready, or had the washing up done before he came home from work, well then this wouldn't have happened. And that's what's so powerful about the freedom, because that looks at all those tactics and types of behaviours. So it helps women identify, because some people don't even know that this is actually abuse. Women are living with this for so many years that they think it's their normal. So to actually be able to say, well no, this is what this is. You can see, Sarah would tell me, they can see people's eyes, like the alarm bells going off in their heads, like, God, this is why he's behaving like that, is because of his behaviour and not because of me.
And then the old wives' tale, oh, you made your bed, you may lie on
it. Yeah.
So many people thought, oh, I can't leave, I got married, or
I made that commitment to stay. And obviously, yes, it's important to work on your marriage if it's healthy. But when it's not healthy,
get out
and leave. If again, it's everyone's decision is their own. But if you're not happy in your marriage, come and seek help from Amber. We can help. So we can help try and support and direct people in, that there is a better life out there, and there is life after domestic abuse.
Definitely.
There's so many women that have left situations and are so much happier now, and never thought that they would be in that position. They never could see life without their partner or life after abuse, but so many women have come through it and are so much stronger and happier after it. Because
it takes a lot of strength to live in a relationship and in a home with domestic violence.
It does.
And then it takes, and a woman, from what I've heard, a lot of women get this inner strength and they just live with it, and then to leave also takes an awful lot of courage.
Yeah, it really does. It does. And you'd hear people say, you might ask the question, what made you leave? So they might, something would kind of just happen that would make them say, look, that's it, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. But it takes time for that to actually happen, where a woman will say, well, that's it, I'm not putting it up with it anymore. Sometimes even, we would have had a woman here lately who would have said that their child said, Mammy, you can't deal with this anymore, you have to get out. And that could be so powerful, that your child saying that to you made her leave. It's actually so sad that it would take for your child to say, Mammy, we can't put up with this anymore, we have to go. And that really that was the nail on the head for her, and she left.
And she was probably staying for the sake of the children.
Yeah, she thought she didn't want to split up her family. Yeah. She thought the kids wanted to stay in their home, and a lot of women do, because you don't want to break up your family.
No.
But children know what's going on. A lot of them can witness it, they can see it, they can hear it, they know the tension is there. some of them are so resilient afterwards, which is great that they can, learn to deal with what has happened and move on and become fantastic adults themselves. But I suppose it's the man thinks that they're doing a favour by staying when they're not, because you are exposing the child to this type of environment. Although you're not doing it, the perpetrator is the one who's responsible for the behaviour. But by staying in that environment, the children are being exposed to domestic abuse, which isn't fair on them.
No. And then they'll think that's normal, and that's not normal.
Yeah.
It isn't normal.
They can grow up thinking that that's the type of behaviour that a man and a woman have in a marriage, when it isn't. So that's where we would come in, around the work we do with children as well. You're still acknowledging that the children love their dad, and they do love their dad, but it's to teach them that this behaviour is not okay, and that you can't treat somebody like that, but that it's okay to still love their daddy. So we do try and work, you work age appropriately with each child. They all understand it at a different level. So we would try and work with them at their own age pace and see what they understand about it. And some children are younger and know more, and older children, it depends. You kind of just have to work at the child's own pace and what they have witnessed. And then again, we mightn't be the service. Sometimes they may need a lot more than what we can provide. So we would have to refer on then maybe to psychology or to CAMS or play therapy as well. Now we do have a play therapy.
What is play therapy?
It's more, I suppose it's a version of counselling, but it's done through play. So a child doesn't have to sit in front of each, like a usual counselling session is two people sitting in front of each other and talking about their issues. This is all done through play. So it's very child orientated, obviously. And you can have art therapy as well. Art therapy can be so powerful because you could just literally be drawing your whole life or your whole issues and problems out on a page, and then you're talking somebody through what is in front of you. And the same then through play. So the play therapist would pick certain types of play that they would do to try and, I suppose, encourage a child to be able to feel safe to express how they're feeling or what they've experienced through the trauma of what they've witnessed. So it's really powerful. It's not, because counselling doesn't suit for, imagine a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old trying to sit in a chair to talk. They don't have those words to express, but they can do it through play because play is so powerful.
That's really freedom, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And I suppose it's the skill then of the play therapist to be able to pick up and kind of direct, what way the session can go, so that the child feels safe to be able to express him or herself. So we have a play therapy session here, which is fantastic as well. We have a girl that comes in by appointment. So it's also free of charge. That we have the funding that we provide for that service too. Yeah, so it's amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So not only do you have the aftercare of when a woman either leaves domestic violence or leaves the woman's refuge, you also have the aftercare for children as well. We do, yeah, and they can continue to avail of the Childcare Service or the play therapy service after they leave, because it doesn't, some children might need a few sessions because some children are more resilient than others, or some may have experienced less trauma than others. So it depends on the child, and if it's a case that they still need the service after they leave, that it's still there for them. So a lot of women will still come back with their children afterwards, and they may, it depends on how many more sessions they need, but we would never cut somebody off just because they leave in amber. They will be able to still avail of the service until they're ready to finish with it. So the play therapy can go on for as long as the child needs it. And then the counselling, I suppose, is more for the mothers. Our counselling service is for the women and the play therapy is for the children. Tell us about the counselling service that you provide. So the counselling service it's crisis counselling. So it's done, we have a woman who comes to the Refuge by appointment as well. Now she's not based here all the time, but there's very little waiting period. You're only waiting a few days. So we would contact our counsellor and make an appointment for a woman, and then she will come to the Refuge to meet with that woman. And again, there's no limit on the amount of sessions that can be provided. Again, it's down to however many sessions the woman will need, and it's free of charge as well. There's no cost on availing of that service for the women. How do you fund the counselling service? Yeah, so I suppose it's not included in our funding from TUSLA. So we have to try and seek funding for that ourselves. So over the last few years, I have made grant applications to the Sisters of Mercy, their Solidarity Trust Fund in Cork, and thankfully we've been very lucky that we've had it for 3 years now. So
I suppose we don't know where we're going really next year. We probably won't get the funding again next year, so we will have to look at other ways of trying to source that money, because it costs quite a lot of money. It could cost within 15 to 20,000 a year. So we do have to look at ways of trying to get that money elsewhere.
And that's a lot of money.
It is, and it's such a vital service that we don't ever want to see that being lost, because counselling is obviously a huge part of a woman's recovery.
Definitely, because the woman, it's a sense of healing.
It is.
They be able to go through the counselling to then move on to life after domestic, living with the life experience of domestic violence. Yeah,
because there's so much trauma from that, so you have to be able to try and go through your sessions, give yourself that 1 hour a week for you, because you can be so busy with your kids and with life and with leaving a relationship, even living in a refuge, because some people that are using the counselling service. So it's to be able to allow yourself that hour a week to look at what you want for your future, and to be able to deal with what happened to you, and to try and look at ways of putting a plan in place to be able to move forward. So it's so important that we really need to have some form of budget again for next year. So we will be looking at that if the money runs out from the Sisters of Mercy.
Because an awful lot of mothers, where it's a natural instinct to put your children first, an awful lot of mothers, especially living with domestic violence, they will always put the children first, and they forget about self-care for themselves, and self-love, self-value and self-appreciation, for having the brave courage
to leave. Oh yeah, you definitely would see that so much here. And that's why I think the Aftercare Service is so important, because the woman could be here for 3 months, but for that whole 3 months she could be just living in crisis mode, and she's maybe moved out of her own area. She could be 10 or 15 miles away from where her children are going to school, so her life consists of getting up in the morning, doing everything for her kids, getting them out to school, maybe going to work herself, so she never gets that time to actually deal with what has happened. So you'd often see it when someone leaves here and they're kind of in their own home, that everything hits then, and that's when a lot of women would come back and use our counselling service then, because it's only then that they're getting the time, I suppose, to kind of sit with what has actually happened to them.
And that would be the first step in self-care.
Yes, and it's so important. And self-love, because this woman might have absolutely no self-worth after listening to maybe 10, 5, 15 years of being told that you're useless, that nobody cares about you, that you're the most useless person that they've ever met. You actually start to believe that. And I suppose it's only then when you start getting help from somebody, from a professional who can teach you that this isn't true, you have so much worth. And it's that self-care that helps build that up in yourself and build back up your resilience and confidence. Your confidence in yourself. Yeah, you'd see so many women coming in here and they're just absolutely broken, and it can take so long to build that back up again. And with the help, I suppose, of proper professionals, those who work in the area of domestic violence and counselling and whatever type of self-care that people like to avail of. Everyone is different. Some people will do yoga, some people will talk. It depends. Everyone has to find their own type. And some women would also still self-isolate even when they leave the life experience and of domestic violence. Yeah, definitely, yeah. And the counselling would be very crucial then. Then to try and build somebody back up, to show, again, as I said, there is life after domestic abuse, and that, you can live your life again, free from that, and that you have every right to as well. You've lived in that situation for so long that, it's time. You lose your identity. You do. From what I could imagine. Yeah. You would lose your identity. Yeah. So many women would say that to us too, that they're like, who am I? What is my purpose on this earth anymore? They really start to question themselves and who they are, because they've been beaten down physically and maybe emotionally for so long. Would you say that has the stigma within society changed over the years now towards women living with domestic violence, or women leaving the life of domestic violence? Yeah, I think there is more acceptance around leaving, and back years ago it would have been as you say, you lay your bed, you make your bed, you lie in it, but now there's more of an awareness around you don't have to put up with this type of behaviour, and that you should leave if you're in that situation, and that it's okay to leave. But then there are still maybe some people still hold those stigmas. It still is there, definitely, but I think we are breaking away slowly but surely away from that kind of old, you need to stay in your marriage and work on your marriage. You didn't sign up to be in a marriage with someone who's been abusive, so you have every right to leave if someone is treating you that badly.
And has the media coverage changed on domestic violence? Is it more supportive of women leaving domestic violence?
I would say kind of yes and no. Maybe, there's more of an acceptance, or there's more of an awareness around what it is and that it's not accepted. But then when you see things being reported in the media, like in the newspapers, and it's always kind of the poor male like if there was a murder, a lot of the cases are covered that, he had mental health issues, or he had, there's always an excuse for the behaviour. Well, no, he actually just murdered himself and his children, maybe, because that's what we've often seen in the media. But the media do play it down as this perpetrator did it because he had mental health issues. And I know there's probably a lot of talk around mental health issues, sometimes with addictions and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you kill your wife and your children, it's the utmost of power and control, and it can be displayed totally misleading in the media. In my opinion, it can anyway, and I've seen it. Stories show that he murdered her because of different, that there was mental health issues involved. That's not why it happened. So I don't think the media portray, just I suppose I'm talking more on murder cases, when it's domestic violence.
Yes.
I don't think they portray that very well. There's excuses made for the behaviour, but there is more of an awareness out there then.
Could the media need to be more supportive of women leaving a life of domestic violence and be supportive? Yeah,
and I suppose it's not always mental health issues.
No.
For someone that might commit that crime or try to commit that crime.
It's their personality.
Yeah, it's that they've lost all control in their life, and that this is the act that they have then decided and chosen to do. Some of them so coolly and calmly, and planned these different events. So I think it's totally not portrayed properly in the media when something like that happens. But as I said, there is a good awareness out there because it's been spoken about as well.
Well, maybe we here at Community Radio can help change that perception and change that reality of the media locally here in Kilkenny.
Yeah, that would be brilliant,
and here on the Woman to Woman show as well.
Yeah.
So Lisa, does the Women's Amber Refuge take in donations of vouchers?
Yeah, so I suppose we always are looking for donations of vouchers, because when a woman comes in after leaving a situation, like we have a supply of emergency toiletries and food, but I suppose it's nice to be able to hand a woman a voucher for Duns or pennies or Lidl do them now as well, or Super Value, anywhere that sells vouchers that we can hand to a woman and let her go off herself and get what she needs herself. So we always are looking for donation of vouchers if anyone is ever looking to donate. Or you can donate through our Donate Now button on our webpage, which is www.kilkennywomensrefuge.ie, and our 24-hour helpline. If anyone needs to contact us in an emergency, please do so on 1850 42 42 44.
And you have, as we stated at the beginning of the programme, a 24-hour helpline here at Amber Women's Refuge.
Yes, that's right. So anyone can contact us at any time.
Lisa Morris, manager of the Amber Women's Refuge here in Kilkenny, in the heart of our city. I suppose we here at Community Radio would like to thank you and all your staff for the work that you do up at Amber Women's Refuge, and to say to all women, you know what? You're courageous, you're brave, whether you stay or leave. But please do love yourself and know when enough is enough and when time it is to leave.
Exactly. Yeah.
And everybody, even if you think you are living or could be living in a domestic violence situation, whether it's mentally, emotionally or financially, as well as physically, to get in touch with you, Lisa.
That's it, yeah. And even if it's just to query whether or not you are in that situation or not, we are there to try and, we can help people identify whether they are living in abusive relationships or not, because some people don't know. So we're there if you just pick up the phone and make that call. Lisa
Morris, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to the Woman to Woman show here on Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM today.
Thanks so much, Roisin.
Thank you so much, Lisa. You're listening to the Woman to Woman show with myself, Roisin Ni Chleirigh, on Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM.
Shop local and keep our city alive.
We are Community Radio Kilkenny City 88.7 FM.
You're listening to the Woman to Woman show with myself, Roisin Ni Chleirigh, on Community